everyone, today we'll be learning chapter 8 Where Animals Live. In this chapter, we'll be learning about the habitats of animals, ecosystems, and how each animal is connected and their biomes. Before we get into this chapter, let's warm up. Ruby got some baby chicks from the pet shop. She made a nest for the baby chicks to live, but the chicks are not happy. Is making a nest enough for the baby chicks? What else do they need to live? You have learned how each animal has its own home. You have a house. It is your home. Home gives us shelter. It is a place where we rest, sleep, and feel safe. In the same way, animals also need a place to live. A rabbit lives in a burrow. A tiger lives in a cave in a forest. Besides shelter and safe space, animals also need water to drink and food to eat. These things are not available at their homes. They have to go out and fulfill their needs. A place where an animal finds its food, water, and safe space is called its home. The area where an animal finds its home, water, and food is called its habitat. A habitat consists all of the things that an animal needs like food, water, air, shelter, a place to raise their young ones, and safety from predators. Even plants have habitats. A plant's habitat is the area where it can grow naturally and is adapted to that area. For example, a cactus's habitat is the desert, and that of a conifer tree are cold, hilly areas. A plant's habitat is where the plant can respectively get requirements like water, minerals, and can also reproduce. A habitat is a place where a plant or an animal naturally lives and grows. A habitat provides the plant or the animal with what they need. There are many types of habitats in the world. A plant or an animal lives in a particular habitat as they have adapted themselves to the environment there. Some plants and animals like cactus, camels, etc. live in the hot deserts. These plants and animals do not need as much water as other types of plants and animals. Some animals like bears and leopards live in a forest or a cave habitat because they prefer cool, shady areas. Some plants and animals like lilies, frogs, crocodiles live along the muddy beaches where the water meets the land. This is because they can live on land and also in water. Some animals choose to be in the water like in marine habitats. Some organisms live in the water. For example, seaweed, fishes, etc. There are some animals and plants that live in very cold regions near the poles or on very high mountains. Penguins, polar bear, Arctic tern, conifer trees live and grow in very cold regions. Let us think. How are some animals able to live in forests and some are not? How are plants and animals able to live in a particular environment and thrive? This is because they have adapted their body to suit that particular environment. A cactus plant or a camel has adapted its body to live with very less water. A rabbit has big ears so that it can hear about foxes and escape. Aquatic plants have a waxy coating on their surface to protect themselves from excess water. In short, all plants and animals have adapted themselves according to their natural habitats. How do we know what an animal's habitat is? Habitats come in all sizes. The habitat of a frog is its pond. Its home is in the pond. It gets food in the pond. It is safe from predators and also reproduces in the pond. A frog does not have to leave the pond for anything. All its needs are met in the pond itself. So a pond is a frog's habitat. On the other hand, the habitat of a tiger is the whole forest. Although it makes a cave its home, for food, it goes out and hunts other animals. As a tiger must move a lot for food, it makes the whole forest its habitat. Did you know? Some animals use their habitat to escape danger and hide from its predators. To help them do this, they blend in with their surroundings. This blending is called as camouflage. Chameleon is an expert in camouflage and changes its skin color to match its surroundings. We have just read about how the habitat of a frog is a pond. But the frog is not the only animal or plant that lives in a pond. Tiny fishes, insects like mosquitoes, ducks, etc. also live in a pond. That is why a pond is not only a habitat but an ecosystem too. The ecosystem includes all the living things in a given area interacting with each other and their non-living environment. In any given area, how plants and animals interact with each other and their surroundings form an ecosystem. In an ecosystem, all the living things work together and are essential for the health of an ecosystem. Let us look at the pond ecosystem and understand how their interaction works. We may see all sorts of living things from microorganisms to insects and plants in a pond. These living things depend on non-living things like water, sunlight, temperature, nutrients in the water, etc. to live. There is a balance in the flow of energy and recycling of the minerals. The energy flows along the food chain. This balance also depends on other elements like rainfall. If it does not rain properly, then the pond may dry up. If it is too hot or too cold, it will affect the growth of the plants. Thus, these interactions that the living things have with each other and their environment forms the ecosystem of the pond. An ecosystem should contain producers, consumers, scavengers, and decomposers. Presence of all these means that the food chain is complete and the energy flows in a cycle. What is the difference between a habitat and an ecosystem? An ecosystem includes one or more habitats. An ecosystem is always larger than a habitat. In a habitat, there are some types of animals, but in an ecosystem, there are a large number of different types of animals. A habitat contains few levels of the food chain, but an ecosystem contains all levels of a food chain. Ecosystems. There are many types of ecosystems in the whole world. The most common ones are deserts. This is the driest ecosystem. In a desert, the annual rainfall is less than the annual evaporation. Evaporation rates are high because deserts tend to have very little cloud cover and there are strong winds. Rains fall in a desert rarely. The Thar Desert in Rajasthan represents a desert ecosystem in India. Forests. A forest has a dense growth of trees. Forests grow where there is enough water to fulfill a tree's needs. The extent of forest growth also depends on the temperature ranges, soil nutrients, adequate growing season, and altitude. These trees create a canopy that shades the forest floor and provides a variety of habitats for many creatures. There are three types of forests called coniferous forests, rainforests, and deciduous forests. In India, we see coniferous and deciduous forests in different parts of the country. Grasslands. These are areas where grasses are the main plants. The subsoil is dry with seasonal moisture in the upper layers. There are vast areas of grassland on all the continents except Antarctica. Today, a quarter of the Earth's land surface is covered by this ecosystem. In India, we can see the grasslands at the base of the Himalayas. Wetlands. We see wetlands where water is present during a part of the year. Riverbanks, coastal areas, swamps, etc. form the wetlands. Mangroves are some of the most famous wetlands in our country. Arctic tundra. This refers to the polar region. They get the sun for few months, so the plants grow only in these months. There are no trees in this region. The ground is frozen during most months. The frozen ground is called permafrost. This area also receives very little rain. Freshwater. This includes all the water bodies which contain fresh water. Rivers, lakes, ponds, streams, etc. are examples. Ponds, lakes are separate ecosystems in themselves. Salt water. These water bodies contain salt water. All the seas and oceans are examples. Different parts of the sea support different kinds of animals and plants. For example, we can see Irrawaddy dolphins only in the Bay of Bengal. Though it is a marine animal, it only lives in a particular part of the sea. This is true for many plants and animals. Therefore, we can say that the sea can be divided into many ecosystems. Here's a tidbit for you. Amazon rainforest is the largest continuous rainforest ecosystem in the whole world. It is home to more than 1/3 of all the species found in the world. Let's explore. Look at all the ecosystem. Find out which animal lives in each ecosystem. Also find out which ecosystem you live in. Biomes. A biome is a geographical area of our planet divided according to the plants and animals that live there. Temperature, soil, the amount of light and water help us determine what kind of life will exist in a biome. We have 6 biomes on our planet: forest, grasslands, freshwater, marine, desert, and tundra. A biome is different from an ecosystem. An ecosystem is where living things interact with non-living things and their environment. Even a log of wood can be an ecosystem. But a biome is a specific area in geography dedicated to the plants and animals that live there. A biome may contain many ecosystems. For example, an aquatic biome may contain ecosystems like a pond and an ocean. In short, all homes are part of a habitat. All habitats are part of an ecosystem, and all ecosystems in a particular geographical area contained in that biome. Here's a science top-up for you. Deciduous forests experience all 4 seasons unlike other biomes. Plants in the temperate forests change color and lose their leaves in fall and winter. This seasonal change means that animals should also learn to adapt to their weather changes. Some animals use camouflage to blend in, while some animals hibernate during the winter. Other animals migrate to warmer places during winter. Here is the glossary of the chapter. Arctic refers to all regions near the North Pole. Tundra, cold areas where trees cannot grow owing to the extreme cold weather. Geographical, based on all the physical features of an area. Sporadic, occurring at an irregular interval only in a few places. Here is the mind map of the chapter. A habitat. It provides a living thing with food, water, air, shelter, a place to raise young, and safety from predators. A habitat is part of an ecosystem, which contains of interactions of a living thing with non-living things in an area. Energy levels of a food chain and also energy flow in a cycle. An ecosystem is part of a biome, which is a geographical area with particular animals or plants that depends on temperature, soil, amount of light, and amount of water.